Alright, in this lecture we'll go over backups and file recovery, which is very important information. Now, like all software, Blender does crash once in a while. Luckily, there are measures taken that can help you recover lost work if Blender does crash, or at least help you go back to a recent version of your work. So up in the File menu here, down here we have these recover options. And the first one is called Last Session, and this will open up the last file that was closed. So when you quit Blender, it actually saves the project at that point to a file called quit.blend, just in case you end up forgetting to save it before closing. So for example, if we go ahead and we edit this cube right here, and let's say we were working on this masterpiece for, 2.5 hours maybe, and then let's say we quit Blender and forgot to save it. Well, shoot, we just lost a lot of work right there. So let me open up Blender again, and let's go up into the File menu, and we'll go down to Recover and select Last Session. And there we go. So whenever you quit, the last blend actually gets saved to that quit.blend file, so we can recover that if we need to. Now, when you open this back up, when you recover this, it still isn't saved anywhere except that quit.blend file. So let's make sure we save this by pressing Ctrl, Shift, and S, and then we will save this to Backup Lecture. Alright, so our masterpiece is safe and sound and saved now. Now let's say Blender crashes on you, and it's been a while since you saved the file. That's a lot of work you might lose, and unfortunately, with a crash, Blender doesn't have a chance to save a quit.blend file. So you'll have to use the auto-save option in the recover options right here, which will hopefully help you recover any unsaved work. So this takes us into our temp folder right here, and that's showing us all the autosave files. So you can see from the autosave files that we have one listed down here as backup lecture and then a random number. So this was an older version of this file that was auto-saved a couple minutes ago. So if the crash happened within the last couple of minutes, I can go back to this autosave file and hopefully recover all the work I lost. So keep that option in mind when trying to recover any lost work due to a Blender crash. Now by default, Blender saves a backup of your file every 2 minutes, but we can change that in the preferences if we go up to Edit, go down to Preferences, and then go down to Save and Load. And you can see right here we have auto save temporary files enabled, and then it's saving these files or these backup files every 2 minutes. So you can make this timer less if you want to save more often, or more if you don't need as many backups saved. Now that recover option might not recover all of your unsaved data because of how there's a delay between autosaves, but there's a good chance you'll at least recover some, if not all, of that unsaved data when Blender crashes. So that can definitely come in handy if you're desperate to recover even any of the unsaved work. And this option also comes in handy if you saved over your blend file and you want to go back to a previous version. And speaking of going back to an older version of a file, there's another method Blender uses to back up your projects. Every time you save your blend file, for example, if I press Ctrl and S to save this file, it actually saves a backup of that file as a .blend1 file. So for example, if I edit this scene a little bit more, and then I press Ctrl and S to save this, then I'll go up into File and go down to Open, and you can see we have the backup lecture.blend saved here, but we don't see any blend1 files. That's because they're filtered out by default. So let's go into the filters here and enable visibility of backup blend files. And there you go, you can see our backup file there called backup lecture.blend1. If I click on that and I open it, you can see it's the original version of that file before we made the changes and saved it again. Now let me open up the latest version of that file again. Now by default, Blender only saves one backup file, but we can have it save more versions if you want. To do that, go back up into Edit and down to Preferences. And then again over in the Save and Load tab, we have the save versions specified up here. So right now we're only saving .blend1s, but we can have it also save .blend2s or even .blend3s. And now every time you save a file, it's going to save a backup as a .blend1, and if you save it again, it'll save an extra backup as .blend2, and so on. So you'll have multiple versions of every file you save if you increase those save versions. And this is just yet another level of security Blender gives you in case something goes wrong. The software really tries to make sure you don't lose any work. With all that being said though, it's obviously important to take control of your own fate, and in the last lecture I showed you how you can easily save multiple versions of your projects simply by changing the number on the end, or even by using the save copy option. But that's going to do it for this lecture then, so I'll see you in the next one.